Welcome to Stand Up for Doctors. I'm your host, Kim Downey. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to welcome Dr. David Fessell. Thanks for joining us today, David.
Great to be with you, Kim.
I'm happy to have you.
Yes.
So I usually start by saying how we met. So we actually connected very early on my LinkedIn journey. I wasn't active on LinkedIn until like last April, and I was already following and commenting on your post when I shared a document with you on May 17th. So it must have been in response. You must have had some post that resonated with me, and I shared with you what I've accomplished since beginning coaching, because I had written that up for Dr. Michael Hirsch after we had, completed 12 weeks of coaching together. And I was thinking you were so interesting that I'd love to chat with you sometime. So I think I put that like in that post, and that was May 17th. But then randomly to me, like on June 1st, you sent me a private message offering to chat. And I told you that I especially appreciate receiving your message today, that it was a year ago today that I saw my radiologist for what I didn't know would be the last time before he died. And I was, really like sad that day. And I said, isn't it something that we've communicated publicly on LinkedIn for a little while? And today of all days, you as a radiologist reached out to me while I was grieving my radiologist. And that just felt really special to me. And then I had also shared with you that three of my friends, well, I had my cancers, three of my friends died of cancer, and one of them, her name was Ibit, and her husband David, when he'd send me messages, he always signed off, "Cheers, David," and that was exactly how you signed your message to me. And then also the third thing, the very same day as I went to BJ's, did some shopping, and the guy who puts the mark on your register receipt when you walk out the door, he was always nice and friendly and would chat, but I never asked him his name. So that day I said, hi, I says, what's your name? I says, I'm Kim, and he said, David. So it was like, so it was, just maybe like little signs or something that day. I thought it was really special.
Surrounded by Davids. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. And then, so we did have a terrific phone call on June 13th. And then later in the summer, I invited you to participate in a collaborative Kevin MD article. And then we recorded a podcast with Kevin and Dr. Todd Otten. And you tag me regularly in your positive psychology posts, and they're always excellent. And then, so here we are.
Yes, great to be here.
And also, by the way, we share 802 mutual connections.
Wow, 802. How about that?
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, that
Amazing.
is a lot. So by way of a little bit more formally introducing you, from your page, you stepped away from practicing as a radiologist to help prevent illness and burnout. And you speak internationally, coach, and write about wellness, emotional intelligence, and resiliency. You became a coach after working with a great one, so you know from personal experience how helpful it can be. You're a faculty associate at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business and a former professor of radiology at the University of Michigan. You're also a graduate of the Second City Improv Conservatory and a certified mindfulness meditation teacher. So I think all that is really cool.
Yes. Those are some really fun, amazing things. Happy to talk more about that if you like.
Yeah, exactly. And so today I thought that we could talk a little about how improv and meditation have contributed to your growth and how they have supported your sense of well-being. So as we do get started, what would you most like our audience to know about you?
Yes. The improv has been a wonderful thing. I got into that shortly after I finished my training. This is going back way to like 1998, 1999 or so. And here I am, a newly minted faculty at the University of Michigan, and expected to give presentations and conferences, teaching conferences to our own residents, and expected to present research nationally, and maybe if you're worthy, internationally. And I found I was terribly nervous in front of an audience. And it took me a while to realize this is part of my job. I need to get better at this,
Hmm.
and I'll never forget this. I had a really kind colleague of mine, and this is probably around 2000 or something. And he stops by one day, knocks on my office door, says, "Can I come in?" Sure, sits down. He says, I was just at your noon teaching conference. I said, oh, okay.
Mhm.
And he said, you have some really good cases, but it looks like you just can't wait to get off the stage.
Huh.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it shows. That's exactly
Wow.
how I was feeling, and
Okay.
and I was kind of mortified, but I appreciated his
Mm.
candor. He said it in a very caring way, and I knew him well, and I appreciated his feedback. And that was a big clue, like, wow, I really need to get better at this. It shows that I'm nervous and that I can't wait to get off the stage. And then, I tried different things, reading books about speaking, which will help
Mhm.
maybe this
Yeah,
month.
right.
It's kind of like riding a bicycle. You got to do it. And took a course or two. But a friend of mine finally said, why don't you try an improv class? And I thought,
Mm.
okay, I'll try an improv class. We tried all these other things. Why not? And Second City, Detroit, it existed at the time. Subsequently, it's no longer in existence. It's gone out of business,
Oh.
but it was there then, thankfully. And I signed up for an 8-week summer course and thinking that, okay, I'll do this one course. And
Mm.
right from the beginning, I could tell this is something I really need, something that's really helpful. I was lousy at it. I still wouldn't say
Mhm.
that I'm a great improviser, but I ended up doing 2 years of classes with Detroit Second City, went through their whole conservatory program and, 3 hours a week, basically for almost 2 years straight. And
Wow.
it really had a wonderfully positive impact on me. It helped me see that you can be in front of an audience and have fun with it. You can
Yeah.
connect to
Now,
people
was
and have
that
fun.
one night a week or a couple
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah,
One night a week.
three hours, one night a week, occasionally more if we were doing a class show or something like that. But yeah, pretty much
Okay.
3 hours a week. Some people do that to get an MBA or something, but
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
did
right.
improv. It was exactly what I needed. And then a few years later, this is the fun part, how you do these things. And it was just totally part of my private life. I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. Didn't, let anybody at work know or anything like that. I was too mortified really, but
Mhm.
could tell slowly it was helping me become more comfortable and find ways to add music to my presentations or more color or jokes or cartoons or stories or fun things
Mhm.
that were fun for me, fun for the audience. And then lo and behold, a few years later, one of my colleagues at the University of Michigan said, oh, Alan Alda does these improv workshops. We're thinking about having him come teach our medical students. And I'm like, improv, hey, I can do that. And lo and behold, I did. And I was able to even pick him up at the airport and drove him to his hotel in Ann Arbor.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he and his team came and did some great improv workshops with our medical students. And we continued those for a few years and even wrote a paper about it in the medical literature. And I still do that a bit. I was teaching a class to our business school students at Ross School of Business this past fall. And it's a wonderful thing on so many levels, building teamwork, building empathy, communication skills, having fun together, being vulnerable in a way can be really bonding. And
Mhm.
so many good things from improv.
Wow, well, that's really neat. If you still have the link to that article, if you wanted to send it, then I could put it in the show notes.
Sure, happy to do that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
welcome.
terrific. So one thing that comes to mind is you said when you first started that you weren't good at it, which is totally understandable, right? Because I know we were both taking piano lessons, right? And if you've never played the piano, when you first sit down at the piano, you're not any good at that either, right?
Yeah.
But that could be a private thing with just you and your piano teacher. So what I'm wondering is, of course, sometimes, and you spoke to vulnerability already, that it's hard for doctors to feel vulnerable. And I'm wondering how it felt inside you because doctors, feel like they have to walk around all day acting like they know everything. And was that very hard for you to just show up? Or did you feel like you could shed your doctor persona right away and they didn't know or care that you were a doctor?
Yeah, I didn't even know if anybody knew most of the time, and they probably didn't care. It was all about having fun together, doing, the improv exercises, the practices, and so it was a totally different arena. It's a totally different world, like visiting a different world, different people I would never interact with otherwise in my life, and getting to know them, working with them. So much fun. It was humbling, terribly humbling as you
Mhm.
were kind of getting alluding to there. But so good for me. And I kept coming back because I could tell it was helping. And even I remember after, I don't know exactly when it was, maybe a year and a half of doing improv, I was visiting my grandmother. someone who's known me ever since I came into this world. And she said, your personality has changed. She
Oh,
could tell
real. Oh my goodness.
I was more open, more outgoing, more joking, more fun, more playful. And I have to give improv the credit for that. So
Wow, that's great. So was it hard? So like you said, most of them probably didn't know you were a doctor. So did that help a little bit? Or did you just realize, well, they're all just learning too, and it's okay? Like, was it hard for you to do something with other people that you weren't good at?
it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. I was one of the worst people in the class, by far. But it was just fun to learn something new and something that I knew would be helping me in my work and in the rest of my life. That's the cool thing about improv. It's not just you go to a class for 3 hours a week and that's it. It overflows into the rest of your life, and it's helping my relationships, helping me at work, helping me. I was presenting on stage, just giving me a more comfort level in my own skin and more comfort level with whatever comes up in life. So much of what we do in life is improv. I mean, we're improvising now. I don't know what you're going to
Uh-huh.
ask. I don't know what's going
Right.
to happen. And we just getting more comfort rolling with that and just saying, okay, I can do this. I've done it in crazy ways, outlandish ways on stage. I can do it here in real
Yeah.
life. And the
Yeah.
fun part, Kim, you'll appreciate this. The fun part too was, as a radiologist, I was a musculoskeletal radiologist, and we did some procedures, joint injections or biopsies of muscle tissue or bones, that sort of thing. And you walk into a room to do this procedure. I've never met the person before. In many
Mm-hmm.
cases, they're very nervous, understandably so. And to be able to be with that and to put them at ease and have comfort level with
Mm-hmm.
that was something I really noticed and really appreciated. It's like, hey, I have a lot of confidence. I can walk into this room. I can help this person have some more comfort with what's going on, put them at ease. One of my favorite things was to ask them if they had a pet. And if they start talking about their pets, then it's, beautiful, wonderful conversation.
Mm-hmm.
They're connecting to their pet, they're telling you about it. It's a space of, unconditional love with our pets. Find something they care about, and get that
Mm-hmm.
conversation rolling. And just, in improv, there's this yes and the concept. You say yes to what's happening and you add something to it. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
standing in those conversations as we're doing the procedure. And it was just really a wonderful experience for them and for me as well.
Yeah, well, that I can fully relate to that, and my radiologist was gifted at that as well, which is why I'm doing this, and also because he took the time to form a relationship, as a radiologist,
Mhm.
and so it sounds like you had fun even the first night, and then you were motivated to improve. So those things, how that it was fun for you, it was something different, and your motivation. So that helped you, that trumped any reservations that you had.
Yes, yes. I mean, it was scary, especially when you think about performing on stage in front of an audience and that sort of thing for our class shows and stuff. But you're doing it with people that you've been practicing with, you've been doing these classes with, and you know that it's going to be fun because they're fun and you can create some fun together. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was a blast. And I'm touching those happy feelings now and those happy memories. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Oh,
asking
that's
about it.
yeah, that's great. Well, and I'm actually asking specific questions because I know doctors or any other people that might be listening that sometimes they might feel afraid to be vulnerable and try something new, especially in a group. So when we actually talk about, and thank you for being willing to talk about, like how you felt about it and how you showed up and things like that, because then it can give other people the courage they need to try something new or different,
Mhm.
with other
Oh,
people that might be scary.
totally, totally. And I self-identify as an introvert. I like people, I enjoy people, but I recharge with solitude. That's a major
Mm-hmm.
distinction between introverts and extroverts, how you recharge with people or with solitude. And
Mm-hmm.
definitely for me, it's with solitude. And so as an introvert, improv was wonderful. And if somebody has maybe introvert tendencies, improv can be a wonderful thing for gaining comfort and skill in those kind of situations where you're in front of an audience or you have to kind of roll with whatever comes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now that's terrific. And I also, before I know of you, and if somebody says, well, what's improv? I just thought of it solely as comedy, like getting up and on the fly, like doing comedy or something back and forth, but it isn't all just comedy, right? Like, I think there's more to it. So why don't you
Oh,
explain,
yeah.
because some people, and I didn't even have a full understanding of what improv actually is.
Yes, yes, that's a great point. And with comedy, with stand-up comedy, it's all about telling jokes and making people laugh. With improv, at least the improv that I was trained in and the classes that I did, it's more about being real. It's about being authentic. And then comedy unfolds naturally from that. You take a suggestion from the audience and you start shaping a scene around that. And naturally funny things happen. But it's about being authentic. It's about relating to the people you're with on stage in a real way, in an authentic way, having each other's back, supporting each other. So the comedy is kind of a secondary feature, but it does come just because, as human beings, we're fun and we like to play and it's a lighthearted kind of space. And the
Mhm,
improv that we were doing with medical students is something called medical improv, which, as you
mhm,
were pointing out, is more geared towards, building teamwork, building communication
mhm,
skills, building empathy and understanding. Again, the comedy isn't the central main reason we do medical improv, but it's a secondary byproduct. It comes, it flows. It's usually a very fun and connecting experience that the students love, and we really enjoyed doing it. But yeah, it's a
mhm,
little bit different. The comedy isn't the main dish, the main course, if you will, but it's a very much a part of it and a natural
mhm.
byproduct.
Well, and I love that, and I love even that there is such a thing as medical improv, right? And
Mhm.
that's very different than most of the things that we talk about on here. So I love adding a new dimension.
There you go. There you go.
So,
It's good stuff. Yeah. And like I said, Alan Alda and his team went around the world teaching improv skills to scientists, PhD students, medical students,
mm,
physicians, doctors, because he wanted to help scientists and physicians communicate better. That was his big impetus. He
yeah,
did the Scientific American Frontiers. He hosted that show for about 10 years, going all over the world interviewing scientists. And you could tell these are really brilliant people, but in a lot of cases, they didn't have the skills to communicate well with
right.
other people. So he wanted to change that. And he wanted to say, hey, how can we help doctors and scientists to have better communication skills? So that's a big part of improv, a big part of the benefits that come out of it as a better ability to connect and to communicate to people.
Yeah, well, that's terrific. So thank you for shedding light on improv. That's really cool. And if we want to move on a little, so you're certified mindfulness meditation teacher. So that really intrigues me. And I think, were you trained, did you say like Tara Brock and Jack Kornfeld, both of them?
Yes, yes, they have a 2-year teacher training program, which I did completed a year or two ago. And yeah, the mindfulness again comes out of somewhat painful situation. The improv came out of pain, being
Mm-hmm.
in painful situations on stage and uncomfortable and awkward. And the mindfulness really arose actually when I was going through a divorce in 2018 or so, 2018, 2019, and wanted to find something to give me more peace and internal peace and
Mm-hmm.
ease, and started looking into mindfulness and meditation a little bit more. Uh, First did the mindfulness-based stress reduction, the MBSR program. That's an 8-week program. I did it online during COVID and
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed that. And that kind of got me started thinking, well, I enjoy this stuff. It's great. And, as kind of a teacher, uh, teaching radiology residents and that sort of thing, it's kind of was a natural extension to want to teach it as well, to learn more about it. And it's a wonderful program. It's not an easy program. There's quite a bit of meetings and classes and presentations and feedback and things you have to do to complete the program, but it's very well done, and I'd certainly highly recommend it. And it gave me everything I was looking for and more in terms of ways to access some more internal peace and be with the emotions that come up, the thoughts that come up.
Yeah.
And it's been a joy to teach it and share it as well.
Yeah, that's terrific. And so I didn't have any, well, I still don't have any like formal training in meditation, but I hadn't really done much until again, everything happened, and we have a local cancer support center. So while I was going through treatments for my 3 cancers and just struggling with some things from complications and such, I was able to speak with a social worker from our local cancer support center, and he's actually in the DC area, so it was remote, and he teaches, so he, because that's where Tara Brock is, so he's actually, I think, taken at least one course with her himself, and he does a weekly midweek mindfulness meditation, and I did that for a while. I'm just not doing it now because I'm so busy doing this.
Yeah.
But it's really good, and I think over a period of time you do absorb it. Like you might, because at first I did think that I was bad at it, if you'd have the other thoughts, and then like they say, you do learn that, well, it's normal for thoughts to interrupt. It doesn't mean you aren't going to have any thoughts, but you're supposed to think, oh, there's a thought, and let it go by. I don't know if you wanted to speak a little to that.
Sure, sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, we all have thoughts. Our mind secretes thoughts just like our salivary gland secretes saliva. We're going to have thoughts. They're just going to come. So mindfulness isn't going to get rid of our thoughts or our emotions, but it does in time, I think, help us to make more space for them, to be with them in gentle ways and recognize that, oh, that's a thought. It's a passing thought, sort of like the clouds passing in the sky. And oh, here it came and now
Mhm.
it's leaving. And here's an emotion coming up. And wow, I can be with that. I don't have to push it away or force it down. It may not be a pleasant one, but again, it's probably going to pass in a relatively short amount of time if I can be with it gently and kindly. And so, yeah, it does change I found at least that it does change my experience and can change our experience with ourselves, with our internal world, thoughts, emotions, and that again overflows into how we
Mhm.
interact with other people, how we can hold space for them, bring understanding to them.
And then some of the breathing techniques go along with that as
Oh,
well.
yes, those can be great too. Those can be great too. I mean, our breath is always with us. We always have our breath
Mhm.
with us. We can tune into it. It can be a calming thing. Some people, the breath is a trigger, so it doesn't work for everyone, which is fine. But
Mhm.
again, tuning to our body, a body scan is another common mindfulness practice, starting from your feet up to your head, just noticing different sensations, different parts of your body along the way. Again, a
Mhm.
very connecting experience can help us tune in to, oh, am I carrying tension up here in
Mhm.
my lower neck and upper back? That's where I tend to carry it. Oh, okay. A little
Mhm.
tight there. I can relax that, bring some ease, breathe into that space a little bit.
Well,
But yeah,
so I get the sense that some doctors, if they hear mindfulness or yoga or meditation, right, they roll their eyes because they're like, oh, yeah, that's the answer to, that or a pizza party, right? And of course, that's not the answer to all the problems, right? And things in the system need to change, but it's an and, not a but, right? Because even though the things in the system do need to change, there are things that individual physicians can do to support their own well-being. And I remember one post where just the things that you're talking about, Dr. Michael Hirsch gave an example, and I think it would be like, say he's a GI doctor, so say he's doing a colonoscopy and it ends up being really complicated, but he still has 10 procedures to go, right? That your mind can start going and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting behind, blah blah blah. So he says what he does, he stops and he just feels his feet and his shoes, right? Or he'll look at something, he'll pause and stop looking at the screen and just focus on something and take a breath and then refocus or recenter himself. So you could speak to this, like how those things really can make a difference in a doctor's life.
yes, totally, totally. I think it's, these small moments, drop by drop, we can help increase the wellness that we carry within ourselves. Another practice along these lines that a doctor at University of Michigan has published and written about, Dr. Sanjay Saint, is when we're washing our hands. I mean, in the
Mm-hmm.
hospital environment, we do that every day, all day. But just as we're doing that, sanitizing our hands, whether it's with soap and water or with the alcohol gel, just to take a second and say, hey, how am I doing? Am I thirsty? Am I hungry?
Mm-hmm.
Am I tired? Do I need to get to bed early tonight? Do I need to work out? Do I need to take a couple of deep breaths just to calm myself and center myself? Those little actions, small little actions like that we can build into our day on a bathroom break, just taking an extra 30 seconds to close your eyes and put a hand on your heart and your belly and take a couple of
Mm-hmm.
deep breaths, or whatever it is that works for you and brings you some calm and some recentering, we can do these practices. I know an ER physician who does a little mindfulness meditation in his car in the parking lot before he goes in to
Mm-hmm.
start a shift. These different ways, or stopping. A famous story I love, this guy that used to be really stressed when he got home, and as soon as the door opened, his kids would run to him, and he could
Mm-hmm.
feel the stress, and he wasn't fully present being with them, and he just decided to stop, pull his car into a park on his way home from work for 5 minutes, and just center
Okay.
himself and calm himself, remind himself of how grateful he was, how
Mm.
authentically grateful he was to have a healthy family and healthy kids, and be able to come home to him. And then when he opened the door and his kids start running for him, he's there. He's fully present. He's not somewhere else. He's finding these little small ways that help us.
Yeah,
And
I love that example, and it is a real example, and it's true, and it really can make a difference, right? It's not something hokey or whatever. It can really change the way you show up instead of, walking in the door and being, stressed out or yeah, I love that. And now that what also came to mind is Dr. Jonathan Fisher shared one day he was actually at work. I don't know if you saw this post, and he took a video of himself meditating. It was either 30 seconds or 2 minutes because he was trying to show he's like, here I am. I'm a cardiologist. I am at work right now, right? He shows it at home. But sometimes you can take 30 seconds or you can take 2 minutes. And it didn't look like it. It was just him like sitting there with his eyes closed. But that actually showed doctors, okay, yeah, when I am at work, right, that you
yeah,
can find 30 seconds or 2 minutes at some point in your day.
sure, sure. We're all stressed for time. I mean, that's a challenge for all of us. And another thing, instead of just always adding something new, like we probably can find another 30 seconds, but some people might feel stressed about, oh, I don't have 30 seconds, or I don't have time to go to the bathroom. How am I going to find more time? Well, we can also look at and think about what we might subtract. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there are things that we can subtract. Maybe it's some social media, or maybe it's TV
Mm-hmm.
news, or things that de-energize us. If we can do a little bit less of that, then perhaps it can make room for more of the things that energize us and that calm us and that recenter us as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that's terrific. Well, I feel like we could talk all day. I know I could I could talk to you all day long.
Likewise, Cam, you're so much fun to talk to. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. You are too, David. And actually, so this I think is only really, well, I guess you could say our third conversation if we include when we were, to Kevin MD. But I feel like we know each other a little bit through, just through the LinkedIn, right? And
Sure,
communicating. So
sure.
I really appreciate your posts and your tags and everything. And I thought it was cool that last week when I was on vacation and I didn't want to respond to posts because I didn't want to, have to follow all the comments, and I let you know that. So you stopped tagging me. And then Monday when I saw that you tagged me again, I was like so excited. I was like, oh, you didn't forget about me. I was like back from my vacation. So I was like, so that little thing, it made me like really happy.
I'm so glad to hear it, and I so appreciate your comments when I do tag you and you see that you read my posts and appreciate them, and that means a lot to me as well. So thank you for all that
No.
you do for me and so for so many. You've been a beacon of light and hope and inspiration for so many doctors, myself included, Kim. So thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you, David, and you are as well. So I think it just kind of is a spiral, right? A beautiful spiral of positivity.
Yes, we can create those upward spirals, those positive spirals where we support each other, share positive emotions. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as we're winding down a little, is there anything, last words you wanted to share with our audience, like any tips that you have for your colleagues from seasoned physicians to medical students, or even those considering med school?
Sure, sure. I mean, we talked about improv, maybe that's something that you might want to organize for your team. Bring in improv instructors. Most big cities have improv training centers, or improv places where it's performed, and they go around and do this for different organizations. So maybe think about doing that for your team. It would be a fun and lighthearted way and a wonderful way to build teamwork and build camaraderie. And also maybe consider dabbling or trying, experimenting with meditation. There's so many ways to do it. You like apps, Calm, Headspace, Insight Timer, all of these apps are
Mhm.
wonderful. A lot of times they even have free week or month or whatever that you can try. There's places you can do it in person. There's online courses. But once you start trying it, I would predict that you'll find some good things there. So please give it a try, experiment, and if it's not your cup of tea, fine. but at least you could say you tried, and that can bring hope as well to know there's possibilities and things that do help.
Yeah, thanks. No, and I fully agree. And I know that I also used to be somebody when I got stressed, I would clench my teeth. And I
Mm.
didn't realize, but I think lots of the time my teeth were clenched. And when you start doing these things or these breathing techniques, it brings awareness to that.
Mhm.
So I feel like I'm much less likely now to clench my teeth. And then if I do get revved up or anxious or frustrated or mad, you can call in those breathing techniques or do a little like even when I go for a walk, I might try to just listen, see what the sounds that I can hear, right? Or
Oh, yeah, yeah.
things like that.
That's another wonderful wellness tip that I love. I started doing that during COVID, taking a walk outside each day. And exactly what you said, noticing the change of the seasons, noticing the sounds around you, the birds, noticing the wildlife, the colors that are sprouting, the flowers that are blooming, the speed of the clouds. That is a wonderful practice. And the natural light, especially natural light early in the morning is wonderful for us and our circadian rhythms. But if you can get outside, even if just a walk around the block, whatever you can do, can be a
Mhm.
wonderful practice for our wellness.
And then even in addition, while you're driving to work or driving home, either what you're thinking of or what you're noticing outside, right? You could
Oh, yeah,
change your
totally. Totally, yeah. Don't miss the beautiful sunrise or the beautiful sunset or
Mhm.
the birds flying by, the wildlife that's there with you, the people smiling in their cars as they're passing you by, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, David. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yes, you can check out my website if you're interested, www.davidfessel.com. I have a lot of free articles there, more info about my coaching if you're interested in that, or follow me on LinkedIn. As you mentioned, I post there pretty much daily with wellness tips, well-being, positive psychology, some humorous things sometimes as well. So check it out.
I would highly recommend that.
Thank you so much.
So, as you know, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And for my YouTube channel, if anyone would like to like, share, subscribe, I have many more great guests to come. And so, thank you again for being my guest today. I was so I think we planned this way back in December, and it felt like this day was never going to come. So, we're actually recording this on February 29th. So, I thought that was extra cool and fun that you're very special and we were recording it on leap year day, which only comes once every 4 years. So that's a special day too.
Great to be with you, Kim. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So in closing, to move the needle in healthcare, we all need to raise our voices and we all need to care about each other. We already know that doctors need to care about patients. Patients need to care about doctors too. So stand up, doctors, and let's stand up for doctors.